Welcome back to another episode of Let's Face the Facts. I'm your host. I'm David Almeida. I'm an actor in Orlando, Florida, and every week I sit down with an actor or artist friend. We watch an episode of the classic sitcom, The Facts of Life, and then we synopsize the show, overanalyze the show, and use it as a springboard to talk about anything and everything TV nostalgia that we can possibly think of. This week, my guest is Mark Baratelli. Mark is a three-peat guest. He was here in Season 1 for the dieting episode, and he was here in Season 2 for episode 15 called Free Spirit. That's when we met Mrs. Garrett's son, Alex. And now he's back this week for this very, very special episode, now in Season 4. Mark, you may recall, is an actor, a singer, a dancer, an improviser, a producer, a writer, a city blogger. He's got so many things on his resume, it is crazy. But most importantly, he's super fun, and I really had a good time talking with him, so we can just get to this, kids. Mark and I watched Season 4, Episode 16, called Let's Party, and the original air date was February 9th, 1983. I think we're ready to jump on in. Let's face the facts with Mark Baratelli. Welcome back, Mark Baratelli.
Hey, everybody.
You got to do a very special episode tonight.
I did. You did warn me when I came in, but I was like, oh, very special, haha, but it is very special.
Yeah, and the first thing you did, you walked in the door and you went, where's the damn wine?
Okay, I don't think I said wine. I said, where's the damn anything with liquor, to be clear.
Because you just drink to be social and keep from shaking.
What?
That's not my joke. That's someone else's joke, but I fucking love it.
That's great. Yeah. I just worked all day, and you reward yourself every now and then
with a couple of bottles of wine. Yeah, absolutely. So,
okay,
welcome.
Bottles. I heard that. I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here.
You are here. Yes. And
talk while I sip my wine.
I'm talking while you sip your wine. He's actually drinking leftovers. Austin was breezing through town with his national tour that he's on, and he had a party, and there was some leftover wine. So I was like, hey, Mark, you want these leftovers? And he said, yeah.
Well, yes, you did say that, but I want to go. I feel like one of our messages prior to making this appointment, you were like, let's get dinner and drinks, and we're going to do this up.
Were you expecting me to dinner you?
And so when I showed up and you pulled out a opened, uncorked, what is it called? Foot mouth wine bottle? Foot flop? It's called like fit flop. Flop foot wine, which I've bought, like when you're pumping gas, they have a dispenser for this type of wine right next to it.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I thought to myself, don't say anything, don't bring attention to it.
Were you think, I'm sorry, you wrote to me and said, when can I drink wine and watch the show? And when we planned like a 7 p.m., I thought, that's like a post-dinner thing.
Yeah.
That's why I just gave you snacks. I feel terrible. I should have gotten some dinner.
I have a learning disability, and in December, I was diagnosed with ADD.
Really?
So it explains everything. I misinterpret everything. I hear things from people that they didn't mean to say, or I'm misinterpreting everything constantly.
And this, if you don't mind me probing into this and getting more personal.
Probe me.
What is it? Hi-yo, giggity. What do you do now? You've been diagnosed now. What do you do? Is it a medication thing?
I take a pill.
Uh-huh.
I take a pill, and I also, this sounds like, I don't know, weird, but like I just forgive myself. Oh. And I will outright tell people, like, rather than pretend, like, because I'd run a business, and so you're supposed to pretend like you know everything.
Have your shit together, yeah.
And every now and then I will have to say, look, I have a learning disability. Could you explain this again?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm learning that, like, prefacing it with, I'm not dumb. I'm not paying attention. But I literally have a medical condition that prevents me from understanding the words you're saying to me.
Yeah.
Saying that, it's like, I should have been saying that for the past 110 years that I've been alive.
Wow.
But I had no idea.
Well, good. I mean, I'm glad to have a diagnosis, and like you say, it
and pills. I take a drug.
And drugs, yeah. And are they supposed to be combined with wine and alcohol? Yes. Is it okay?
Yeah, that makes them work better.
It's okay. It's preferable to down your meds with alcohol. Okay, good. There it is. down the hatch.
Oh my God, the pills are so good, though. The pills are so good. One of the reasons, because one of the things you said to me when I first walked in, you're like, hey, your blog's coming back. These pills.
Oh, that's one of the things. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need, more important than anything, do you need more food right now? Do you want me to give some substantial food?
No, I ate like your entire bag of chips.
Okay, I'm fine with that. That was there for
Yeah,
you.
I'm full.
But do you need something? Do you need protein? Do you need some? I got some sliced turkey.
I have food at home.
I have. Okay. And I'm sending you home with Coma brownies also. So the brownies are
Comb-over brownies?
Comb-over brownies. Yes, it's
Coma brownies?
Coma brownies.
Coma.
Have I
Is
not
it
sent you
sugar
home with those
coma?
before?
Are you doing like a Laura Hodos thing? I know she's known for her food.
Her ugly cakes.
Yeah.
These are brownies.
Trademark. She puts the trademark after
Yeah, all
on
the
her
little
Instagram.
trademark things. I fucking love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my brownies, and they do have the Laura Hodos seal of approval, but
Yeah.
they're dark chocolate, caramel, sea salt, peanut butter brownies. And when you eat them, they're amazing.
See, I walk in and I'm offered an opened, uncorked bottle of $4 wine, and then I'm told after, like literally, I've been here for like 4 hours. After the 4 hours,
Yeah.
you have brownies. Okay, all right. Well, I'm not Matthew Arter, so I understand. I understand.
Matthew complains about the service, and
What does he complain about?
He complains about whatever I give him is not good enough. It's like a bit that we do where he complains about.
Okay.
So nothing's good enough.
Yeah.
Well,
this
here,
is like a real bit that he can base his comedy on.
this is a real bit where you literally
listen to
came
this.
here with expectations. Well, we just watched the very special episode called Let's Party. And I love the fact that the title of this podcast is now Let's Party with Mark Baratelli.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah. If there's one thing I'm known for, it's a good time.
And being a party animal. Yes. This is season 4, episode 16. It was originally broadcast February the 9th of 1983. Was directed by Asaad Kelada, same director who's been directing all the shows this season. He's the one who has directed the most of them. And it was written by Jerry Mayer. And Jerry Mayer is like one of the OG writers and creators of the show. He's listed as like developed by, and he has written frequent episodes and many of the backdoor pilots. So he's one of the big Machers in the writer's room.
Big what?
Big Machers.
What's that?
That's a Yiddish word for a big macher is like a bigwig, an important person.
Okay.
Yeah, and because I'm so ethnic, Mark.
That's why I had to stop you.
I have such culture and
Why are
heritage
you
in the old
speaking?
country from which my people come, of Ireland and England.
You're
and
white. You're very white. You're
I
translucent.
I am. I'm like one of the aliens from Cocoon. So, Mark, first things first, You know the drill. You are a three-peat guest. This is your third appearance. So, therefore, I need not even ask you what I'm about to ask you. Go. I'm talking about the elevator pitch 2-sentence synopsis of what we just watched.
Okay.
It's only been 11 months. Jesus. How did you forget that?
The one ethnic African-American character is saddled with a substance abuse related adjacent issue.
Thank you.
Okay.
That is extremely accurate, yet very vague and oblique. And if I read that in TV Guide, I'd be like, I may or may not be interested by this. So very good. Well done.
I don't know if it was like a pitch, like to get you to watch this show, but it was like now that we're in this 2020 mindset of we all are watching everything through different eyes.
True. And watching this show through the lens of 2020, for all intents and purposes, this is the very special episode about drinking and driving. That's really what it all boils down to.
Which I think was I don't know if this is factual, maybe you can back me up. I think that was a new thing, right? Mothers Against Drunk Driving was like new.
In the 80s, yeah. That was a very new thing where suddenly people had been dying in car wrecks and drinking and driving all over the place. And it wasn't until the 80s that somebody went, we could try to do that less and encourage people to do that less.
And it wasn't like car companies. It wasn't the government. It was people. It was citizens.
Yes. I just looked it up. Mothers Against Drunk Driving was formed in September of 1980. So it is still a very. This was.
Still new,
I mean, you're
relevant.
far younger than I, Mark. So I remember as a teenager that it was a suddenly very prevalent thing in our culture about this. No drinking and driving. Don't drink and drive. That was a big thing, and M.A.D.D. And that, yes, you are absolutely right. And I was going to bring that up, and I'm glad you did.
I'm sorry I beat you.
No, that's like I said. It's. Me listening is foreign, sadly. So let's get into this. Let's start doing it. We have got the first scene. It is clearly the weekend because the girls are in their street clothes. Blair is wearing her ugly ass yellow mustard colored top that her asshole boyfriend Chad did not like a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't like it because he thought she looked better in blue. I didn't like it because it's fugly. It is hideous with the extra patty wide shoulders and no collar. It just dips right down like they forgot to put a collar on it. It's extremely matronly, but everything that Blair wears is matronly. We're constantly referencing costume fails in this show. Tootie is really excited and cannot wait because her brother Marshall is about to come and visit. He's on his way to a ski trip, and he's stopping by Peekskill to spend some time with her, and she is so excited, and good God, does she idolize and worship this brother. And Natalie and the girls all know him when he arrives, so there's some familiarity. At some point, somehow, somewhere in the course of this show, they have met him. We have never met him or seen them meet him before. And then the sort of not really quite B story is Joe has a solar greenhouse from which she has proudly produced one head of bok choy, which for those who do not know is Chinese cabbage. Thank you for telling us that, Mrs. Garrett. So this is just the reason for a couple of jokes and nothing else. But suddenly Joe is a gardener in the middle of dead of fucking winter. And it's absolutely ridiculous and unfounded and inconsistent with her character, whatever. Anyhow, Marshall arrives, everyone's all excited, and they are asking him and his friend to stay for dinner, and he says, no, we're actually having a little get-together at the motel, and you girls are invited, and they're all fucking thrilled and excited because they're going to be going to a party with college kids. So tell me, what thoughts, what felts have you felt regarding this scene so far?
So Marshall's friend is hot.
Yes.
Beautiful. I don't know if you Googled him yet. I want to know what he's been doing, what he's up to. I know he did probably a Playgirl centerfold in the late 80s.
He could have.
And his chin is either an implant or a gift from God. I've never seen a chin so perfect, and this is great.
Yes, and when he comes in, Blair is all, Blair goes into Estrus. Blair is like...
What's Estrus?
That's when your baboons get their big bubble gum. But that's literally like, my pussy is wet and ready to accept you. That's... Yeah, you've never heard that term?
Is this going on the internet?
I don't know. I might cut it.
Oh, God. Can we talk about how Blair is situated upstage? Mm-hmm. I think I remember the theater terms. Yes. Upstage, behind a table.
Yeah.
I feel like there might be objects in front of her or around her. And also, when you said shoulder pads in the sweater, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because... she's hidden. This woman is hidden.
Yeah.
And her hair is very big. But if we know this show, and we all have eyeballs, this woman has gained some weight.
She actually is slim right now. She actually was heavier last season, and this season she is slimmer because they sent her to a fat camp over the summer.
Okay. Well, maybe okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's not her original weight.
Because she was like 15 when she started the show. Her original weight was she's 19 right now. The actress,
like the actress, is 19.
Is 19, and she's playing an 18-year-old.
I believe you. I hear you, and what you say matters. But the rest of the show, to bolster my case, the rest of the show, please tell the audience what she's wearing.
an overcoat.
A large black overcoat, like a thick trench coat.
Yes, and I will support your statement. Even though she is slim this season, they are dressing her no differently than they have the previous seasons. I have long criticized how they've dressed her because they could have thought, okay, how do we do fashion forward for a girl who's a little curvy? They could have done some really cool stuff. She's so fucking rich, she could afford the top fashion stuff designed to work with her body but look really cool.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. They instead just make her look matronly. She looks like Delta Burke on Designing Women, who was heavier than the producers wanted her to be, and it's like the punishment costume for fat television actresses who might be a size 6.
Yeah, like it does seem like when you gain weight on TV, you show less skin, and you do not bring it. It's almost like an attempt to not bring attention to the weight. That's what I see visually. Obviously, it doesn't work.
Let's talk about the actors now. We
That
have
hot guy.
okay.
That hot guy is hot.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Speaking of being
Sorry.
an Estrus, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm flapping my rosy cheeks. Enter here.
The deal is, first of all, we have Tootie's brother. This actor is Kevin Rodney Sullivan. Kevin Rodney Sullivan has a lot of acting credits. I should say he has a few acting credits, maybe a half a dozen or so. But he very quickly, in the 80s, transitioned into a little bit of writing and a lot of directing. No. And he went on to direct episodes of Fame, The West Wing, Riverdale, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, The Good Fight, Modern Family, the new Sabrina reboot, Titans. Like, these are all big, top A-list TV shows that he has directed. And he also directed the feature films, Barbershop 2, which was a sequel, but that was those Barbershop movies, those were a big fucking deal.
Okay.
In the African-American community, because it's movies with non-white people in them.
Go on, I'm listening. Yes.
People of color, yes.
Okay, sure.
And he also directed How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
The director of it?
He directed that. He's like a big-time director now.
So this is like an example, like Meathead. Meathead had that one role.
Rob Reiner, I believe.
And he went on to do When Harry Met Sally, and then have this huge career beyond that one role.
Yeah.
So this guy was meant to be behind the camera.
This is the black Rob Reiner. Yes, Mark, I know you want to say that, but...
What?
Huh?
I'm sorry.
No.
My flaps are open.
So, yes, so that's it. And also, among his acting roles is only like a half a dozen of them, but they're all in fairly prominent things. Small roles, big movies, including The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Heard of it.
Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Night Shift. More American Graffiti, not the original, the sequel, which I didn't even know existed.
Oh, my God.
And he was in 13 episodes of Happy Days in the role of Tommy.
Yeah,
and it was clearly towards the end of the series, and he was in the episode, the Joni and Chachi getting married.
The issue in the first scene, which you brought up, and we haven't talked about, is that these are high schoolers mixing with college people. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in college and a few times interacting with high school people, and it's like, for me anyways, it was night and day. It was, you don't belong here. This is not the place for you. And Mrs. Garrett, with her low-cut button blouse and her up to her gut, right beneath her Wawa's black skirt, doesn't say a word about, hey kids, hey children, hey minors, maybe you shouldn't go out with the college student.
I thought that too.
I question her judgment. I question the writing.
Too. I think the fact that Marshall shows up as such a worshipped child, a worshipped sibling of Tootie. Mrs. Garrett does congratulate him on becoming a Phi Beta Kappa member, which is a college honor society thing. So he's clearly a good student.
He's not a normal college student. He's a respectable college student, right?
Yeah, there's a sense
implied.
of he is a responsible boy. So the idea is, and it's clear he does love Tootie. He loves his sister. So I think Mrs. Garrett's judgment is that, well, Marshall's in town with some friends and they're going to hang out with the girls. I think we can assume,
In a hotel.
In a hotel room. Giggity. But I think that's the leap I had to make. That's a little
justification.
Those are dots I had to connect with my own self. That was not in the show, where she said, if I had known there was going to be drinking, I would never have let you girls go. And remember, they do come home before curfew. So they're not in a prison. Their
curfew was like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But that, as it should be, you're in high school.
Agreed. Totally agreed. But the other thing you brought up, which we do need to address, is Paul Walsh.
Oh, is that his name?
Paul Walsh is the character who comes in that Blair loses her, slides out of her chair for.
We all slid out of our chairs. And you also, when you say Paul Walsh, it's your mouth is open.
Paul
most
Walsh.
Of the ready to receive
Your mouth.
Paul Walsh. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, he is played by actor Michael Harrington. Michael Harrington is the son of Pat Harrington Jr., best known for playing
Regis Philbin's sidekick, bunny interloper in the 1967 rom-com Is This Vegas Again? Part 2.
That is correct.
Okay.
You know your TV history. Pat Harrington Jr. was Schneider on One Day at a Time. And Michael Harrington looks like his dad. I mean, now if you think of it.
Kidding. I'm going to jump over this IKEA table and smack you.
What? How very dare you? It was Woolworths.
I'm going to tell you. Woolworths? No. Who? No one knows what that is. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Okay, I grew up on that Alice show. I almost cursed. Schneider.
You can curse on this.
No. That was One Day at a Time, right?
One Day at a Time.
One Day at a Time. Repulsive.
Yeah. Oh, here's a good picture of them.
Yeah, no, there is some attractiveness.
There's a little bit of resemblance there.
They have they have those faces that are symmetrical.
Yeah. And you could not stop commenting on Michael's chin. He's got like an Aaron Eckhart, that square chin, no cleft in it, but it
remarkable.
Is striking.
I want to know why he did. Where did he go? Either he's super rich and he's like, I'm done with this, or he became a director too. Or he became some sort of stripper or casino.
He did not go into any sex work or sex work adjacent type of job.
Lady host.
But he went on. He had several roles in other things. He had appearances in Charles in Charge, Chips, Newhart, a lot of stuff in the 80s. Who's the Boss? St. Elsewhere, The Colbys, Santa Barbara. And movie appearances in Beverly Hills Cop, Little Darlings, which is
that is a movie with
Jodie Foster and Kristy McNichol and Tatum O'Neal.
Yeah.
And his credits seem to end in 2001, and then suddenly there's a 2019 credit.
What?
Of one little short film, of an appearance in a short film. So he clearly went off to do something else, but I didn't dig too far to find out. I didn't care.
I think that a lot of people who aren't actors, like if you don't become, Sissy Spacek or Mariah Carey level of acting, you're a failure.
Mariah Carey is your gold standard of acting.
Yeah, I saw Precious. Did you see Precious?
Did you see Glitter?
But my point was that let's look at this career. The Colbys, the Carringtons, Dynasty.
Yeah, he was on his way.
These are high level, like you said, high level shows.
Yeah, and his resume is probably not much different than George Clooney's was. And George Clooney's included Facts of Life. And yet somehow Clooney went that way and Michael Harrington did not. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I think Michael Harrington may be a skosh more fuckable than George Clooney. One other thing is, you did make a comment. You said somebody got fat. Who?
Oh, Blair got fat.
Oh, it was Blair you were talking about.
But Tootie got lady chests.
She didn't have those when you were here last time,
did
she?
The last time, that was a tiny waif twink woman, and I come back and she is not only filled out, but these are large.
She's got
44-year-old woman
tatas.
Yeah, tiggle bitties. And also the solar greenhouse. What year did Epcot open?
82.
Okay, and this
is 83.
So, like, do you remember going through the land for the first time?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and this is our hydroponic, solar-powered...
You've never heard these... I'd never heard these words before, how food is grown. I wonder if one of the writers went to Epcot.
Oh.
Solar greenhouse.
Yeah, it's so weird, this Joe. And there is a moment they try to do a joke where Joe is like, yeah, it's so great to put those seeds in and then to slowly see some of the leaves shoot up and then watching them grow. And then there's a cutaway of Blair kind of looking at her weird. Mm-hmm. And Joe kind of is like, yeah, I guess it's okay.
Which I think is a vaudeville bit.
Well, the implication was... If it was not Joe, if it was some other character, the response would have been, I really need to get a life. Like, the idea was that, why are you deriving such pleasure from such a mundane little thing? Yeah. And it was so incongruous with everything else we've ever seen or explored or done or been shown with this character. It's just like, what is happening?
Who built the solar greenhouse? And aren't all greenhouses solar because the sun goes through the greenhouse? So how is this more solar than a regular
Isn't that
greenhouse?
just a greenhouse? Yeah. So then we move on to the next scene where we are at the party. Now, it took me a while to figure out where the fuck we were, but it's a hotel room. I was like,
Where did you think we were?
Well, I was like, is this a dorm? Did he take them to his college? It took me a while because there was a sense of, Later, it is stated very clearly it is a motel. Yeah. So we've got Marshall there. Oh, last thing I need to say. Tootie, all she talks about is this brother Marshall, and we gather from this that they are the only two. And in an earlier episode, when Tootie was being wooed by the boy at the candy machine back in season 2, the episode called Who Am I? Some viewers may recall him in asking Tootie if she has any sort of a network of African-American friends. At Eastland, he says to her, so, do you have any sisters around here? And she says, no, but I've got 2 brothers at home. And then he's like...
the third brother.
Yeah, what happened? Is that Chuck from Happy Days? Where did Tootie's other brother go? Everybody at this party, quote-unquote party, has a beer in their hand, other than the girls. And what we have is, it looks like we have 4 extras. We have Marshall and Paul. We have Joe is not there yet. We have Blair, Tootie, and Natalie. We have 2 people sitting on the bed, 1 person sitting on the floor talking to the people on the bed, and then a guy in the chair, and his name is George. We are about to meet him very briefly, but that's it. So this isn't like a big-ass blowout of a party. This is just a little cluster of friends on their way to a ski trip who have stopped in a motel so that Marshall could have his sister and her high school friends join him for a pizza and beer party.
Would you agree that every surface on the set was covered in beer cans?
And pizza boxes, yes.
Covered.
Yes. Yeah. They tried to make sure visually to make it clear that there was drinking going on in this. So there is some talk that Tootie says to him, remember when Dad caught you drinking and you were only 15? It's so weird that you're legally able to drink now. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. He's in college. And so I had to look up, what was the drinking age? In 1983, when this was filmed, the legal drinking age was 19. It had just gone up from 18 the year before. In 1982, you could be 18 and legally drink
18
in a
or
bar.
19? You said 19.
In 82, you could be 18. Now, as of this episode, 83, it had been upped to 19.
18 was the legal drinking age in America?
Yeah.
In America?
Yeah. Oh, I remember in Massachusetts when I remember being a teenager and my older cousins being like, oh, I can't wait to turn 20. Why? Well, because last year I could drink when I was 18 and then they changed the drinking age to 20. And so they were in that window of, okay, last year I could drink and now I can't till next year. So I remember that. They kept like creeping it up. And similarly, it went to 21 the legal drinking age was changed to 21 in 85, so 2 years later. So it's not unusual that Marshall, as a college student that's not a senior or a grad student, could legally be able to drink at 19. I mean, that's, yeah.
That's so important. Like, if you're watching these shows just as like, oh, haha, the clothes are weird and the dialogue is weird, that's one thing. But it's fun to also watch this in the context of what you just said.
You had no idea that the legal drinking age was under 21 at some point.
No, that was out of my bubble of importance.
You're so young and naive, Mark.
No, I'm an older white woman who just doesn't pay attention.
So the guy George is played by an actor named Kyle T. Hefner. And there's not really much there other than he's supposedly a journalism student. Natalie's trying to have a conversation with him, but guess what? He's been drinking beer and he's drunk and he's not a great conversationalist.
And maybe you're with me on this, but did you think big penis? Like a shocker.
No.
Okay, all right. Next topic. I got two things. One was like, I never saw Animal House, but I was like,
oh,
is this a
Belushi kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I could see that. Yeah.
And then I also thought of George Costanza, just because his name was George, and he kind of
but he honestly, he looks like. That's what Jason Alexander looked like when he was younger.
Probably, yeah.
It's totally a Jason Alexander.
I don't think
type.
Jason Alexander has a big wiener.
No.
No. Nope. Sorry.
Anyway, Joe arrives. It's separate from the others. Joe is on her bike. This is important that Joe arrives via a different form of transportation. And they decide to play a little drinking game when Joe comes in, and it's stupid. And Joe is perfectly Joe in that she is not impressed, not just by the game. You can tell because it was a drinking game. Joe was just like, this impresses me in the negative. People drinking is nothing to me. You guys are actually a bunch of fucking losers.
Probably because her mother was an alcoholic.
Her mother was not an alcoholic. Her dad was in prison.
Her mother was Jerry, the one with the disability, right?
No! Jerry is Blair's cousin.
Jerry is somebody's mother.
No, Jerry had no children.
Oh, okay. Go ahead with the scene. I'm sorry.
Anyhow,
I just think any woman with short hair is a mother, and I think Jerry had short hair.
She did.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the scene ends with Joe being not amused by this drinking game, and then we go to the next scene, which is still the party just later on the same night. Suddenly the party is broken up, I guess. None of the extras are there. George is kind of passed out, and Natalie's trying to have a conversation, and it's not working. Joe is gone. She went home on her motorcycle, and basically they learn that there's another party at another motel, and they're going to head on out there. And Tootie's like, no, it's curfew. You need to take us. We need to get, it's past curfew, or we're getting towards curfew. We need to go home. So Marshall's like, cool, I'm going to drive you home. And they're like, you've been drinking a lot of beers. And he's like, you think I'm drunk? And he says, I don't get drunk on beer. I'm responsible enough to know when I can drive. So Blair and Natalie are both like, shit, we should have gone home with Joe. Or one of us could have ridden on the back of her motorcycle or something. And they're like, I don't think we should. And Tootie kicks into defensive cognitive dissonance mode, where she's like, what? He's fine. He's not drunk. You're embarrassing Marshall in front of his friends. And then Hot Paul even offers to drive in a very funny moment where he steps in the middle of a frame wearing a coat that I think is not his, and it's buttoned improperly. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, hey, if you need me, I can drive you guys. And it was like, yeah, no, you can't.
Yeah, and
sit down before you fall down.
The lights shine on his chin so well. Go on.
The lights glimmered, reflected. So there was talk of taking a taxi, and Tootie's once again, you're going to ruin Marshall's visit. You're supposed to be my friends. My brother knows he's okay to drive. Well, are you coming? And poor Natalie and poor Blair are just kind of like, well, what the fuck are we going to do? So they succumb to the peer pressure of this child having a fit over her brother and they go off into the commercial, into the fade out, and possibly into oblivion.
Which is a shock, because the first person to stand up and acknowledge that something different needs to happen besides these children being driven home by this drunk is Blair. Blair is like, you see it in her face. She stands up and she comes up with the plan. She's like, I've never driven a station wagon. Let me drive it. That's pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, good for her.
So she knows when to recognize the situation and then also how to handle it. Then she gets in the car? No.
Yeah.
This is where I go to the writers and I go, I don't like you. I don't like you.
Like I said, having Tootie be the one putting pressure on Natalie and Blair and having them buckle is a little weird.
I do understand Tootie's things, because it's like, it's not just, you're embarrassing. This is her hero and you're embarrassing him in front of his friends.
Yeah. Now, why
these two women, these two children, they don't seem like people who would buckle under that. This is against character.
Why wouldn't they have taken a cab home and Tootie insisted, I'm going with my brother? And then have Tootie and Marshall get into that too, and have them get into the accident and have, I mean, it's certainly up the stakes that multiples of them could have gotten hurt. By the way, spoiler alert, they get into an accident. We're getting ahead of ourselves here, but
here's what maybe could have happened is like, what the real drama is that it was between the friends and Tootie. I'm no writer, but that's what I saw. It was like, there needed to be a moment of them confronting Tootie. Hey, Tootie, you are misinterpreting the situation. You are incorrect. You're making a bad decision. We are your friends. You must trust us. Why are you not trusting us? And then she needed to face that and have that moment. And then maybe, and then in my mind, like, she would have had that moment, go, okay, I'll go with you guys, and we'll get a taxi home. And they get to the house, and then it turns out her brother gets in an accident.
And dies.
Potentially dies, but maybe potentially comes up and shows up and says, hey, you know what? Hey, guys, I shouldn't have driven. I'm going to call my parents. But no. Go on.
But I think, upping the stakes. Upping the stakes of having our characters, our girls, be put in danger.
Choosing to be put in danger.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a little weird. And I'm back to something I asked last week with Mrs. or was it the week before? Mrs. Garrett Blair took Mrs. Garrett's car down to the DMV to pay off, or down to the bank to pay off the last of her loan. Anyhow, Blair borrowed Mrs. Garrett's car, and the car got stolen. So it was kind of part of the plot of the show. And the question I asked is, wait a minute, why the fuck doesn't Blair have a car? Blair is 18 years old. Blair is rich as fuck. She should have a gold-plated Mercedes, Porsche, Audi, or whatever thing. I mean, it's so weird that she doesn't have her own form of transportation like any other fucking rich girl would have. And she's from the city. Well, they can afford parking because parking is so expensive. But the thing is, it's like this should have been a situation where Blair would have driven the girls and then Blair would have driven home.
Yeah, that's what, like, hey, like there should have been another, like an option B of like, hey, Tootie, we've got another option. Come with us. Let's go in Blair's car. No, I believe my brother. Like choosing between your brother and these friends that you love. So
then we come back from commercial and we're in the parlor and Joe is on the phone and she's like, what do you mean they left an hour ago? And she said, well, okay. And I think she said she's talking to George. And she's like, okay, George, focus. If they come back, 4 words. Call Joe, phone home. Which is a reference to?
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I believe it would be E.T., a different Steven Spielberg film.
Did that just come out that year?
Raiders of the Lost Ark was 81.
No.
E.T. was 82.
Oh, okay.
And this is 83, so E.T. is still wildly popular. So Joe, for some reason, tries to whitewash it. I guess she doesn't want to worry Mrs. Garrett, where Joe said, Joe lies and says, oh, they're just leaving, so they should be here really soon. Joe doesn't say They left there an hour ago and they should have been back. I'm worried, though Joe is clearly worried. So interesting she doesn't share that with Mrs. Garrett.
Well, Mrs. Garrett is kind of a mess. If she had shared that, Mrs. Garrett would have blown her caboose.
And, well, she should have.
Well, she should have, but it wouldn't have done any good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well.
But I would have not done what's the lesbian's name? Joe. I wouldn't have done what Joe. I would have gone, you let these teenagers with these college guys, and I would have been admitted. I would have made Mrs. Garrett lose her mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's good to
she
know.
ends up losing her mind, which we'll get to later, by bringing out some food objects that are.
Wait, we'll get there.
Go ahead. Yes.
So, more references to the garden, and Joe has this thing of plants and a blanket they're putting over to protect it from the cold, and then later the blanket comes into play for a final joke where Joe says, "Let me go with you, Blair." And Blair's like, "Joe, that's so sweet. You don't have to." Blair is wearing the blanket, and Joe says, "No, I'm not coming for you. I need the blanket for my broccoli." And that's like the payoff for all of this hydroponic, listen to the land shit.
Wherever they were going, to the bathroom?
Upstairs. They're going to have their cocoa
to the
in their
bidet?
room.
The what?
They're
They're going to have cocoa in their room.
Have cocoa in their room, if you know what I'm talking about.
Get cocoa in the room. Turn the lights off, pour the chocolate. Speaking of chocolate, go on.
So the girls do come in. No sooner do we lie to Mrs. Garrett's face. They come in, and clearly some shit went down. Tootie's hair is messed up a little bit.
Okay. What percentage of that wig would you say was messed up? Because I'd like to get your number, because I have a specific number.
I would say 7% of those hairs were frayed.
Yeah, okay, good. I was like 96% of it was fine.
Uh-huh.
So 4 to 7%.
4 to 7%. We can
shockingly,
agree. We can agree.
None of them were disheveled. None of them. Blair walked in beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for the most part,
with her baby covering wrap coat.
Yeah.
But her hair was gorgeous.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, girls, you made it. And to Mrs. Garrett, it's like, Marshall had trouble with the car, so it stalled, and we weren't near a phone, so we had to walk home, but we're okay.
Who is this?
Tootie.
Yeah, she's still
lying. But in a place of denial. She's denying lying. Every
scene is denying.
Yeah, Tootie's got some issues to work through here. So Joe knows something bad because she can look at the girls and see Natalie is fucking traumatized. Natalie's going to have PTSD from this. Natalie's like, my leg won't stop shaking. Why won't my leg stop shaking? But Joe is like, hey, Mrs. G, they look cold. Maybe you should go get them some hot chocolate. And Mrs. Garrett's like, oh, all right. And off she goes into the kitchen.
Vibrato throat.
And as soon as Mrs. Garrett's out of the room, Joe is like, you got into an accident, didn't you? And they're like, yep. And he was driving. And Joe, at the top of her lungs, he was driving and he was drunk. And then Blair is like, and he was driving too fast. He ran a red light. And Tootie's like, the light wasn't red. And blah, blah, blah. And Natalie's like, why won't my knee stop shaking? You guys could have been killed. Mrs. Garrett is in the kitchen. There is literally a door between you and the next room. That they did not play this with some sense of, what the fuck happened? Are you telling me that you let him drive? What the heck? What were you thinking? It's like the fact that they were playing to the goddamn balcony at the top of their lungs. Do you agree with me?
They were doing Virginia Woolf.
Oh.
And old Death Blouse in the
They were doing
room.
Virginia Woolf at the Amway Arena. Jesus. Fuck. So in Marshall comes, and he's got a bandage on his head. He said there was a kid in the car, and he found the Band-Aid. That's where it came from, but he clearly hit his head. It was an accident. And I think it's Blair that says, that was no accident. It was 5 beers. And they're still shouting at him. And then You were going to be driving off to another party. And he's like, no, it's okay. I'm just going to go back to the motel and slowly. And then after all the shouting, Mrs. Garrett comes in. Well, here's some cocoa. And I heard nothing that went on in this room. Why do you have that cut on your head? And then he says, oh, just a thing. Never mind. I'm going to go. Bye. And the girls are like, yeah, we're going to have our cocoa up in our room, so everything's totally cool. Goodbye. Yeah. And then as Tootie leaves, Mrs. Garrett's like, let's talk. And Tootie's like, it's late. She's like, you can sleep late in the morning. And so she's like, something happened, didn't it? And Tootie's like, yeah. And she said, Mrs. Garrett says, well, I was watching all the looks flying around here. And it's like, or she was in the next room while they were shouting and could have heard it all. But whatever. Poetic license, theatrical license. So Tootie back. Well, he had a few beers, but he wasn't drunk. I saw him. And blah, blah, blah. And Mrs. Garrett says, oh, he had a few beers, not alcohol. He wasn't acting drunk. She says, I have experience with that. My ex-husband was also one of those people who was never drunk. Now, we met her ex-husband. It was Robert Alda in season 1, better known as Sky Masterson from the original cast of Guys and Dolls, father of Alan Alda. And he was a gambler. We didn't really get into him having a drinking problem, but we have just now, 3 years later, further fleshed out his character. Bravo, writers. And Mrs. Garrett says, you know you could have called me for a ride. And Tootie's like, he wasn't drunk, okay? And it's Friday. You were in the middle of Dallas. That's a CBS show. This is NBC. They mentioned a CBS show. The trouble is NBC didn't have a Dallas. They didn't have Dynasty, which was on ABC. NBC didn't have a nighttime rich people soap. And then Mrs. Garrett lays into her, who is he to take your lives in his hands and to do something so dangerous? And you're got to tell your parents, of course, because he knocked over a tree with their car. And Tootie's like, no, they're going to take away his car, and he's supposed to go somewhere for spring break. And Mrs. Garrett's like, worse things could happen. If you love him, you've got to do something about this. You may be saving his life. End of scene. Any thoughts about that?
Your Mrs. Garrett is just...
It's like she's here, isn't it?
She's here. She's queer. Her bun is never you fear. Well, I think the one thing I pointed out was that someone asked for hot chocolate. She said, okay, she comes back. Look, I have done some terrible theater as a child and as an adult. I've seen it all. Yes, you've seen it all. Mm-hmm. We know on stage, on TV, when there's no liquid in the cup, when there's no weight in the cup.
Drives me crazy.
I mean, it's just, I don't know.
The one thing I'll say is, of all the awful cup drinking, fake drinking, acting that we see on this show, and to this day, and it's worse today because of the Starbucks cup with the lid. This was not the worst cup acting I've seen, because at the very least they were cups and saucers. So when you pick it up by the saucer, there is a sense of balance and weight that is there.
Because if you don't treat it like it has weight, there's balance. Yeah. There's no weight, but there's balance.
The balance automatically. Yeah, the balance helps to give the impression of weight because of that. Now, the one negative thing about this, nobody drank any of it. I don't think anybody picked up a cup and put it to their mouth to actually drink the cocoa. It was like, here's the cocoa, now we're going to take it upstairs, and they just picked up the stuff. So then we go back to the hotel room, and Marshall's asleep, and Tootie knocks on the door. He gets up. He's still wearing the same clothes he had on the night before. Tootie tells us she took a bus to get there, and she does say to him, nice pajamas. And he says, well, I guess I fell asleep right after I dropped you guys off and came back.
Look, that's another moment. We're just like, we never get to see him physically admit to himself or to us that he's a hot, stinking mess. That would have been a good moment. Not for him to look down and go, oh, I guess I. He would have looked down and go, I mean, at one point, he just sort of, just had, this moment was missing where he would have looked down and go,
yeah,
well, what do you want? Or like just be a jerk. Like he never was a jerk except for the driving drunk.
The episode sort of sidesteps a resolution by let me complete talking about what happens here. Is that Paul comes in with 2 6-packs, and it's like short of saying breakfast, it was like. And Marshall does say those aren't for the road. That's for when we get to the ski lodge because the beer up there is expensive. And while Paul is there, he says, "Oh, you girls missed a great after party last night. We went to the..." And Marshall's kind of like, shut the fuck up and go load up the car, would you please? So Tootie's like, you went to that other party after you dropped us off, after you got into a fucking car accident and nearly killed us all. You went to another party to keep on drinking and ended up back here like this. So it's like, what happened the night before? That was not enough of a sobering moment, both literally and figuratively, that he wouldn't have slowed down or whatever. That's a serious fucking problem. You need to cut back, dude. This is like we need to get you to Betty Ford. We need to get you to an AA meeting. But they don't go there. That's a little too DEFCON 5 for a sitcom for right now. But Tootie and he have a lot of back and forths. Tootie, to her credit, is the one who initiates the difficult conversation of, we could have been killed. This is not a game. And finally, the sort of moment we land on is, you need to call mom and dad and tell them what happened and that you banged up dad's car. And he's like, no, I can't. Why? Well, because I already had a DUI. This is a great moment. 1983, Tootie does say, a DUI? That was not a very common term back then. Driving under the influence. He has to explain to her. So this is already a problem. And he's had a problem with the law before. And how the cops weren't involved in this, with him running into a tree. How, a cop could have just been driving by and been like, what's going on, kids? Like, she didn't say it explicitly. She's like, well, you're lucky the cops didn't get involved this time again. So the last thing is she says, if you don't tell mom and dad, I'm going to. So she gets on the phone, goes to make a collect call, says the phone number, and then the big final feely, emotional moment is where Tootie's about to be connected to the dad. And Marshall walks over and slowly takes the phone from her. And then she hugs him. And then we freeze frame. So we're led to believe that, I guess, his choosing to make this phone call instead of Tootie is him accepting some level of responsibility. It's left very ambiguous. Wouldn't you agree?
The reason why it feels weird is that he doesn't have that moment where he tells us why he's drinking so much.
Yeah.
People do those actions for a reason. And I think one reason, and listening to you talk made me think, like, potentially one of the reasons he was drinking so much is because he's so miserable. Because he could have had this moment of like, everybody thinks I'm perfect. Mom and dad look up to me. They didn't go to college. I'm the first guy to go to college. You look up to me. Our mystery sister looks up to me, and everybody thinks I'm
a
great.
brother. It's a brother, yeah.
Brother. I'm not great. I have flaws, and I just can't handle this pressure, and so I drink. And then Tootie could have gone, "Hey, you're my hero, but that's okay. I still love you, even though you're flawed." And you go, "Really? Yeah. Maybe your mother and dad. Maybe our parents do as well." And you have that moment of, why is this happening? Not just this, like, you're drinking a lot. like, it doesn't come from nowhere.
Yeah, agreed. And there is no big aha moment of realization of, you're right, I do need to cut this out. You're right, last night was not acceptable. You're my sister and I love you, and I almost hurt you and your friends. Like, he didn't have his real comeuppance moment. And what you proposed, I would say, if you were writing that today, I would say, Mark, that's a little simplistic for this show of this time. What you wrote would have perfectly fit in. So I think that's a terrific suggestion. Yeah, it's kind of like the Blair waiting for the phone call for the boy who was making her insecure about herself a couple weeks back, and Blair not taking the phone call from the boy was the symptom, but we never talked about the cause of why this boy was getting in Blair's head and making her doubt her desirability, her own decision making, and things like that. This is the same thing. His making of the phone call. They make such a big moment of this. It's like this is the symptom, and your suggestion of addressing the cause is spot on. That's what the episode was missing, and I wish we had for such a very special episode. What else you got for me? You have anything else? Any other points you want to make? Because we're at the end of the show.
He says at one point, I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. And I thought the next line should have been, but you did, or but you almost did, or something.
Yeah.
He said, I never would do anything to hurt you. Oh, no, he did. They got in a wreck. She should have said, you did.
You did.
You're lying.
Yeah.
You're lying to me. You're lying to all my friends. You're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You did do something to hurt me.
What if that bandage was on my head?
And by bandage, we mean a 1/8 of a piece of toilet paper with
like
a
a
glue
shaving
stick.
cut.
Yeah, it looked like a shaving cut. I mean, the minor visual symptoms of this wreck were so tiny, but maybe back then it was like, oh my God, you can see blood. That's a huge sign. Like, we didn't be beat over the head.
Yeah. So, I mean, bravo to the show for continuing to address its issues and be an issue-driven show. And once again, we're finding them dancing around it, but not really getting to the meat of it. And it continues to disappoint me.
I think it's shows like this that, when shows like Cheers come around, our eyes are opened. Or like Mary Tyler Moore, our eyes are open and we go, oh, this is what TV is supposed to be. So
well, and
this
shows,
stuff makes us appreciate the good stuff.
Well, yeah, I think so. And I mean, and I love this show. I think this is a good show.
I love this show too. Yeah.
It's a matter of, I've said it before, to love something is to be critical of it. Or is it to be critical of something is to love it? To criticize it is to show affection or whatever. Anyhow, I love this show and I'm critical of it because for how much I loved it as a kid when I didn't understand all of these deeper nuances. Now, as an adult, I'm like, oh, this wasn't as good as I remember it. And I can see how it could have been great to both child David and adult 30-year-old David, It's
just the writing, right? It's
yeah.
not the acting.
No,
it's the actors are. I think the reason for me I like this show or have fond memories of it is the actors
and the appeal of the characters and the relationships. They do get right for the most part. Yeah. The relationships and like the Blair and Joe dynamic is terrific and wonderful. Well, before I send you on your way, my darling, the last thing I always like to add after we critique the show, rip it to shreds, and then somehow claim that we still love it. Tell me a commercial. Any commercial from your childhood or any part of your life that is a commercial that you think of when I say commercial. A jingle or a product.
Don't treat your puppy like a dog, dog, dog. No, no, no. Feed him puppy chow.
I vaguely remember that puppy. We didn't have a dog growing up, so that wasn't a thing. Did you grow up with a dog with pets? We had a cat.
And there was a cat ad around that time that was similar, but I can't remember it. But the no, no, no.
That was for puppy chow.
With me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you for you contacted me. You said let's get. You said interestingly. You said when can I come over, drink wine, and watch another show, and that it turned out to be the drinking and driving and alcoholism episode.
Well, yes.
Okay, I gotta come clean. This is an intervention.
Oh, Jesus.
I tried to call all your friends.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Yeah. It got awkward. Yeah.
They're all like, no, it's not 2009.
So,
we're not friends.
Yeah. So, Mark, I hope to have you back as we progress. Now, do you remember the later seasons, the Edna's Edibles and the Over Our Heads?
I don't remember the cookie shop, but I remember the store, and they all started dressing very sharply.
Oh, my God.
Very
the mousse,
sharply.
The hairspray. The teased up 80s hair is insane.
Yeah, I remember the looks, but I don't remember that much about... I don't remember Edna's Edibles.
As I always say, I love repeat guests. I hope you come back and want to do this again. I promise I will have a better selection of knockoff hand-me-down wines to offer you.
I think I'll bring my own.
And you could do that too. Yeah. Sure, BYO.
Yeah.
That's kind of guy I am. That's kind of host. I'm a BYOB kind of a dude.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for having me on the show, and it was super fun.
Well, I'm glad. Smooches and goodbye.
Mwah.
And there you have it. That was Mark Baratelli. Next week, I'm going to be watching Season 4, Episode 17, called Best Sister, and that is a two-parter, and I am thrilled that I'm going to be joined by Matthew Arder for both parts. So you can look forward to him over the next 2 weeks. And just as a reminder, I don't like to harp on this too much, but if you do want to support the show through Patreon for a $3 a month donation, you do have access to the other podcast Matthew and I have been doing every month called TV Talkaholics. So if you're interested, go and check that out. Otherwise, thank you for listening to this week's show. And remember, the facts of life are all about you. Let's Face the Facts was produced, written, hosted, and edited by me, David Almeida. My theme song was beautifully arranged and recorded by Ned Wilkinson. Our website is facethefactspod.com. You have to drop the lets. And that's where you can find extra pictures, video, and audio extras from the digital cutting room floor. Follow the show on social media. We're everywhere under the handle Face the Facts Pod. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/FaceTheFactsPod. And don't forget, go to your favorite podcatchers and subscribe, rate, and review. Tune in again next week for another thrilling episode of Let's Face the Facts.